All right, so good news is that we're not scheduled to have any power cuts this weekend and probably into next week as well. Eskom has restored a number of power stations that had problems, but if you live in Gauteng and a few other areas, you need to prepare for water supply problems next week. Rand Water, which is the bulk supplier to areas such as Joburg, West Rand, Mogale City, Rustenburg, Madibeng and Emfuleni, has a 54-hour shutdown planned from this coming Monday until Wednesday. This could result in low pressure, possibly also no water in those areas. Let's get the details from Eddie Singo of Rand Water. He's the executive manager for the Zuikerbosch Water Treatment Plant. Mr. Singo, thank you so much for your time. Your network has got over 3,000 kilometers of pipeline. So how much of it do you have to fix between Monday and Wednesday next week?
Good evening, Sally, and good evening to the listeners of eNCA. I'm glad that you started with that our network is over 3,300 kilometers of pipeline. This on Monday we are only working on just on 30 kilometers of it. So just to give a bit of background, in 2017, we started with an infrastructure assessment and consumer base assessment. And the outcome of that assessment, amongst many other things, was that the pipeline from the Vaal River to our water treatment plant, eNCA, is not going to be adequate in 2024. Now, the work that we are doing is in preparation for the demand in 2024. So what we then did in response to that, we initiated a brand new project to lay another line parallel to the old one that is not going to be adequate. And that line was completed partially around 2019. If you remember 2019, we had almost exactly the same kind of a shutdown, 54 hours as well, and we connected one portion of the line to the other. Now we are connecting another one. So when we connect the two lines, of course they have to be off, because otherwise we will be drowning in water. And for that period of time, we are going to have those 8 municipalities being affected in terms of their supply. It is important to also indicate on a daily basis, we are purifying 4,840 megaliters per day. We are only reducing 600 megaliters of water for the 3 period. In the system, we'll still be pumping 4,200.
Right.
Of course, our consumers will experience low pressures, and on high-lying areas, they probably will also have no water. But we have given our municipalities, all of them, 21 days notice, with the expectation that preparations would be made with the local customers to prepare themselves for this 54-hour
So let me just jump in here. So what you're actually saying is you're not responding to a crisis. What you're actually doing with this process is you're trying to plan ahead to avoid a crisis in 2024, when you've worked out that the demand for water is going to be so much higher, and this is repairing or putting in a new piece of piping, connecting it up, a 30-kilometre stretch that is going to make things easier in years to come. So, bearing in mind what we've seen with Eskom, maintenance was neglected, and now we're hitting a crisis. I'm sure that most people understand what you're trying to do. Just sketch for me the areas. You mentioned 8 municipalities. They're not all in Gauteng. Talk to me about the municipalities affected, the areas affected, and what, you say that people in high-lying areas are likely to end up with no water at some point. It's possible.
That's correct. So the 8 municipalities that are going to be impacted, and the impact would be in different degrees, is the city of Johannesburg, Mogale City, Rand West, Merafong, Rustenburg, local municipality, Madibeng, Metsimaholo, and Emfuleni. And all of them, depending on, the sizes of the reservoirs they have, they will be impacted differently, and even the length of the impact may be different.
All right. So talk to me about...
in as far as the local ones, municipalities will be able to provide those lists because they will be managing
those
their
are the
own
individual
systems.
suburbs. So you need to speak to a municipality. I want to ask what people can do. You were saying before we went on air that actually it's a bit too late. You shouldn't be stockpiling water right now. Tell me why that's a bad idea, and what can residents do if they have left it too late to put a little bit of water aside to flush toilets, etc.?
Yeah. When we started communicating, we have been encouraging people to stockpile until yesterday. From yesterday going forward, we want the consumers to give us an opportunity to then fill up those reservoirs, because consumers are going to need that water in the 54 hours that we are going to work. So we don't want to get into that 54 hours with empty reservoirs. So the encouragement was up to yesterday. Now we are encouraging consumers that it is late now. Please do not stockpile, else you are going to empty the system. And by the time we finish with the work, the resuscitation of the system is just going to take longer than necessary. So we are pleading that we avoid, stockpiling. We avoid using water in manners that really we have been talking about in the past, that waste water. This 54 hours is very critical for all of us, including myself as a consumer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for giving us all the details. eNCA of Rand Water, 54 hours starting Monday through Wednesday. It's too late to stockpile water. They're begging that you don't do that because they're now trying to fill the reservoirs up as high as possible so that you have some water over the next 3 days. Perhaps just save your bath water to flush your toilets, something like that. But thank you very much for that update, eNCA.